E começou a gravar, peraí. Já vou iniciar, dar uns 10 segundos de folga aí. Vou começar, pode ser?
Bora.
Hello guys and welcome to another episode of the Breeze Talks podcast. I have here with me my good old buddy Macedo.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 9 of the Breeze Talks podcast. And well, this is happening with some frequency. In the last episode, this happened as well. Uh, in the first episodes, when we were recording 1 to 2 episodes per week, we were more used to speak in English. As you guys know, we are not English natives. English is not our first language. So today, we are kind of rusty. What do you think?
Well, I'm doing fine, buddy. I actually have to speak English pretty much every day, so this is, to me, I'm not so rusty.
Yeah, when I'm writing something or reading, I'm not so rusty. But well, this is going to be fine. I'm
Yeah, actually, I don't think you should worry too much, buddy. You usually can convey your words with no problem at all. I can
Yeah.
listen clearly.
So, what's happening here today, buddy?
Today, we have a very special episode because this one is very important for the lore of the channel. Okay, guys? Today, we are going to talk about someone that people don't usually talk. And as you will see by the end of the episode, maybe I don't really agree with him. However, he is extremely important to talk. He is commonly known as the Unabomber or Ted Krasinski.
Yeah, he's some dude. He's a guy who did some very shady things in the 90s, and nowadays we don't really know about him. We don't really uh, see people talking about him, but the things that he envisioned are very, very interesting, and we are going to discuss about it today.
Correct. This is our ninth episode, as Macedo said, and perhaps our one of the last episodes. We are thinking about doing kind of a joint episode in this one and the next one, because today we are going to discuss Krasinski's ideas, but later on the next episode, we want to talk about how do I say this word in English? The replica, well, the answer to Krasinski, okay?
Yeah,
And then we should go to our next stage in the Breeze Blocks umbrella.
yeah, this is going to be the really, really final phase of our test that we are doing in here. Uh, should we should we talk about this in the next episode? We are going to finish our discussion about the Unabomber, in regard about the idea of the fall of the empires.
Yeah, but however, that's not actually what the Unabomber talks about, because now let's dive deep into the episode. Oh, first, let's not forget, like, share, subscribe. We are on Spotify. Come to the Discord to talk about this. And you may want to come to our Discord because what happens when you search for the Unabomber is that you usually don't really get what is the main point of the story. Okay, he's a terrorist. That's what you're going to find on Google. He's a terrorist. That's how they wanted to paint him. But he has a manifesto. He has a quite weird idea that technology is the ultimate downfall of humanity, or perhaps to a weirder, less free stage. So I guess that's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah. So let's get started then. Uh, who was Ted? Who was the Unabomber?
Well, the Unabomber, he was a man called Ted Krasinski, but for 9 years, the world has known him as the Unabomber. And the story goes like this. in the 90s, I guess, early 90s, something like that, 85, 1985, um, attacks started to occur in planes, and they were some very specific attacks, so like bombs, actual bombs and threats and stuff like that. But the FBI could not track the person. It was someone very smart. And during this time, these 9 years, he sent some messages. And by the end of the 9 years, I'm just summing it up, okay, guys, because it's a long story.
Yeah,
Um, and by the end of the 9 years, he was all like, okay, so listen to me. I am doing all this stuff because I have something to say. And I'm sorry I had to kill people, but if I did not do this, you would not pay attention. And this is way too important not to pay attention. So if you publish my manifesto, the complete manifesto, in New York Times, I will cease and desist. I will give up, and I will go to jail or something like that. It's kind of like this. I'm not really, really sure, but it's somewhat like this. Okay.
yeah, but it was basically that. And if I record correctly, um, first the New York Times, and I guess it was the Washington Post. They were not willing to publish his manifesto, his text. So
Yeah,
they
America
had,
was all like, we do not negotiate with terrorists.
yeah, they had all that attitude that they didn't want to negotiate with terrorists. So both New York Times and Washington Post weren't willing to publish his ideas to the general public. So, well, as they were not going to show to the public his ideas, he, I guess he was he threatened to make another attack. He discovered that his manifesto wasn't going to be published, so he made another threat, and then the FBI, or I guess it was the CIA or something like that, they made a deal with I guess it was with it was the Washington Post, wasn't it? And then finally, the manifesto was published. It is a very long uh,
Mm-hmm.
article. It
Mm-hmm.
has 33,000 words, I guess. It's a
About
very
3
long.
hours of talk. Someone speaking very fast. Three
Yeah,
hours.
it's very long. If you go to YouTube, you can find lots of videos of people reading the entire article, and as you go further into it, you can see that it has many intriguing and controversial ideas that he makes. But
Yeah.
none of less, they all have a point, and that's why
Listen
we
to
are
the man.
discussing it.
Listen to him. It's very hard. You will be very hard pressed to say that he's not correct, even though the very beginning is kind of weird. But press on, seriously.
Yeah, and then um, how can I say this? Well, it's controversial because he makes uh, what's the word of it? He's not discussing it. He's making
He's
a point.
arguing.
He's
He's
arguing.
arguing.
Yeah, he's arguing that the the pace that we are going with our technological development and industrial development as well. Uh, just like Cici said in the beginning of today's episode, uh, he thought that this was going to be the downfall of humanity
Mhm.
and our civilization.
Correct. Well, yeah, I guess that's the main point of today's episode because what we are going to do here today, we are going to just briefly go above what Krasinski said, but I actually want to give my point because, well, maybe we should go over what he said first, right?
Yeah,
Well, in any case, what's going this podcast may be valuable for you if you just search it for the Unabomber because what happens is, as I said before, the USA kind of wanted to censor this guy, because they did not want to negotiate with the guy, and publishing his ideas is pretty much we lost, message.
yeah,
And the point is, what the fuck is Krasinski talking about? So, if you search on Google, you won't find the bombs and stuff. And if you really want to search for his ideas, you have to read this long ass article. But basically, what Krasinski said is the following. Uh, Technology will be the ultimate downfall of humanity, but not specific is not any kind of technology. There's one in specific, which is the Industrial Revolution. This point in history, in humanity's history, was a true game changer, a complete game changer. There have been many advancements in technology since I mean, uh, it has been a great difference in modern human history. Okay, the last technology and revolution like this was agriculture. I don't know, over 12,000 years ago. This
yeah.
one is as big as the last one.
And not only that, but aside from the industrial revolution that is still happening, we had the first revolution happening in the 1800s, but now we are living other kinds of revolutions. We are still developing all this process, and it is becoming more and more uh, dangerous to our environment as time goes on. And he was worried about that because the, he saw that if we didn't stop, or at least if we didn't at least uh, decrease
Slow
the,
down. We have to slow down because we are way too fast.
yeah, we are going way, way, way too fast. And if we didn't slow this process down, we were going to reach a point of no return where, as you can conclude, we were going to reach the downfall of our civilization, but not for example the downfall of the Roman Empire, where things were still happening and
Yeah,
civili-
Rome fell. Rome fell. However, there were still other cities in other places that had nothing to do with Rome.
yeah, I mean the humankind was still existing, the environment was still there, but the Unabomber was talking about something different. If
This is global now.
Yeah, this is global, and if this keep at this pace, if all the environmental extraction of natural resources, and not only natural but human resources as well, if this keeps at this pace, we're going to be basically really fucked, and there's no going back.
Actually, this is a lose-lose situation for humans. As Bombers put this, he's an extremist. He makes a case for humanity, and in his view, this is pretty much a battle of humanity against technology. I will go over about the basic structure of the article so we can use his ideas in order to make the arguments. But just as a summary, as I was saying before, this new way to organize society is extremely detrimental for humanity because essentially we are talking about software systems that run inside our brains. So I'm a Brazilian, some other guy may be an American, and he has to follow different rules. and conform to a system. He was quite the punk. He was very punk.
Yeah,
Kind
he
of
was
like
the
that guy, right? What's the name, Macedo?
what guy?
The other guy we just saw, Charles Manson,
Oh,
right?
Charles Manson. Yeah, but Charles Manson, he was a serial killer. Uh, and well, if you consider it this way, the Unabomber was kind of a serial killer as well.
Correct.
But
He was way more dangerous because he's kind of way smarter, you know?
yeah, well, Charles Manson was pretty smart as well. But the Unabomber, he had a political uh, he had a political reason behind his actions. All of his ideas, they were conveyed in a way that he wanted to pass on a message. That's why he was killing people, just as Cici said. Uh, he
Correct.
was killing people because if he didn't, he thought that he was not going to be listened, and he he considered his ideas to be worthy of attention.
Yeah. In any case, he actually kind of accomplished his goals, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can consider that he probably influenced a a pretty pretty big amount of people,
Yeah, he entered history. No joke.
and that's so crazy because he is actually right in a kind of weird sense, you know. Well, I mean, he's a criminal. He killed lots of people.
He
Not
did
lots.
not have to be. He did not have to be a criminal because his arguments, even though the person who made the argument is a fucking asshole who killed a lot of people, he's not fucking wrong. That's why I hate him.
Yeah, he has a point. He definitely didn't need to kill those. I guess he killed 9 people.
Yeah,
They were. I don't know why, but he always killed university professors. That's why.
strategic. That's a strategy.
Yeah, that was his strategy. That's why he's called the Unabomber because he's the it is the university and
And bomber.
no, it's not just bomber. And
I'm
I
not
guess
really sure. As
airport.
I
Yeah,
said before, I had like kind of a very brief go over on Krasinski history. I'm more into the manifesto, you know.
yeah. But I guess the Unabomber name comes from university and airports bomber
Mm.
because
Hmm.
he puts he did put bombs in airports as well, but he was mainly targeting university professors. I don't know if he had a personal grudge against them. I read that he was in fact a professor himself. He taught mathematics.
Maybe
Uh,
they were just unlucky people that were close to Krasinski, you know.
yeah, he was a mathematics professor at some university. In the, I guess it was in California before he decided to quit his profession um, and lead to these ideals. Basically, he advocates for privativism. You know?
Yeah, return to monkey, my friend.
Yeah. Basically, return to monkey. That's what he wants.
Yes, and we are very serious here. He is not joking. As I said before, I will go over on how he constructed his argument. It's very quick, but in the end, he is an extremist. He is pro-human, and he is pro-nature. And we as humans, essentially, we have nature inside us, even though we kind of strayed away from it. But that's our origins, you know.
Yeah.
And he, by the end of the manifesto, he says like this. Not by the end, but quite truly, the manifesto he goes on like this. We cannot reform the system. The system, technology, I mean, like industrial revolution system of technology, like there are many systems, but
Yeah.
specifically this one is so toxic to us and so able to control us that we cannot reform the system and live in harmony with it. We have to wait until it's weakened, and then we have to strike. Like a small minority of people will stay silent until it's weak, and then crush industries, fabric, technology, life as we know right now, and destroy, make it so desperately destroyed that it's unable to recover forever, if possible.
Yeah, that in fact that's something that he says right at the beginning of the manifesto. He says that if this if these actions are ever going to be made, there are two ways of doing it. You can go it slowly and steady in a progressive way, or you can do it the hard way. Uh, but well, just like
Much like another friend of us who has a manifesto said, but I will not say his name, okay? You guys can guess
yeah,
it.
but well, as we can see, we are now at 2021. The manifesto was written in the 90. Well, it was written in the 90s.
Publish it at least.
Yeah, and we are now 30 years ahead in the future. And well, as we can see, I don't actually think that the progressive way can be done anymore. The corporations and the all of the industries around the world, they are kind of too big. I guess this
Yes, they are
if he
huge.
if he was here to make another point, if he was here to talk again to whoever he wanted to talk to.
Unabomber 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. Man, I love this. I love this expression. Jesus. Uh, he was probably going to say that the progressive way was not possible to be done anymore, and just the extremist way was possible because
No, he would be scheming for sure. He would be saying something around the lines of just stay silent. Don't do anything. The system itself will eventually be at the point of no return. Just wait and prepare. We will strike soon at dawn.
yeah, yeah, I can see him. I can see he talking something like this. But uh, me personally, I think this is kind of fucked up because if it wasn't for COVID, just imagine that if COVID, the entire pandemic didn't happen in the end of 2019, uh, we will be today still at what's the expression, at full, not full speed. That sounds dumb. Um,
full, tr- full throttle, maybe. Well, I guess I can see where you're going. Where you're going. We
yeah,
are going full throttle ahead, full speed ahead, just straight ahead. You know.
yeah, it's exactly that. If COVID was not a thing, we were still going to be just like we were before this shit show of a pandemic. And just now we slowed down a little bit, but and just a little bit, but
Yeah, everyone had to pay attention to a single thing for a second. You know,
yeah,
Jesus, was that so hard?
yeah, we needed a fucking pandemic to make people look around and see what the fuck was going on, and that this entire lifestyle was not sustainable for the civilization as a whole.
Such is human
And
life, my friend. We only look at the problem once it's like biting our asses.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of obvious, but even then, I don't think this was effective. When this pandemic ends, uh, well, the pandemic, because the virus is going to be here forever. But when the pandemic ends, we are going to increase the speed again, I guess.
Oh,
And
for
that's
sure, bro. This is was like just when the character in a game stops for a second to charge, and then it goes actually full speed.
yeah, and that's a problem because we
That's
are
what the Unabomber was saying.
yeah, that's the entire point because we are going to be we are going to achieve full speed again because the people that are on positions of power, they don't fucking care. They are just following their personal interests, and that's what he was against. He was
I
against.
guess that's not quite true because he would argue that they are not following their personal interests. They are following mostly the interests of the system, the technological revolutionary system, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Well, in
Mm.
any case, may I tell the listeners about how he made his argument?
Oh, sorry. Please go on.
No, it's okay, bro. How should we call our listeners, our breezers, our breezies?
No, not this shit. No, don't start that. How
Oh, in
awful.
any case, whatever. You guys, okay.
Yeah, but we are going to come up with with something.
Yeah, I'll leave it to you guys, okay? You can
Yeah,
do it.
but okay.
So, what I want to say to the listeners is the following. So, if you just stumbled on this beautiful, beautiful title and thumbnail we are going to make, I'll give you the reward of not having to listen to 3 hours of the manifesto. Okay. The argument he made is as following. They are, I don't know, as Macedo said, 33,000 words, something like that, right?
Yeah,
And he makes his argument the following. First, he starts in a very, very weird way where he talks about leftism. Most of you guys who listen to this podcast are probably, I'm not sure if you consider yourself a leftist, but usually most of the people who listen to science, technology, politics, the future of humanity as a whole, identitary politics, and the internet in general, as Krasinski describes, could be considered a leftist, not because they are the old left, the communists, but because they are defined by something he calls the by and a laws of words. There is not something better to describe, but he says they are politically correct. That's the first point. Can you say something now, Macedo?
yeah, and he makes, uh, if you can say that way, he makes some harsh critics to leftist people. He makes some analysis to these kind of people. Uh, he creates a point around what you can call a leftist psychology.
Correct, my friend. That's where I wanted to get. You used the perfect word, psychology.
Yeah. So can I say something more,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can?
you do you, my friend.
Yeah, he starts his manifesto by talking about this leftist psychology, where he defines not defines, he makes he analyzes the people that that considers them as leftists. There's a not a bunch. There are some there are
Yeah,
characters,
characteristics.
yeah, and and behaviors and patterns that makes these people
We
that group.
can say they are. We can kind of like put them in a, I guess you could say, strawman argument, kind of. But
Yeah, when I
you
was
can kind of
reading,
say these guys, the leftists, you know.
yeah, it kind of had this Strawman vibe into it. But anyway,
Yeah, point in cases. I He's not trying to say this because he's trying to like shit on the left or communism, but he is just trying to use something America was very familiar at the time, and he finishes this by mentioning the identitary politics, like LGBTQ plus whatever, and it was in the 90s, like early 90s, and just now with Twitter we can actually see that this makes a lot of sense, kind of like he's talking about right now, you know. It's pretty impressive. But in any case, he's just using this to say, okay, so you know there are these people, let's just say the leftists, and they are politically correct. This is what I want to use in order to construct my whole argument. And by politically correct, I mean this. These people, they conform to a certain type of law, even if they are like actual laws of a country or even implicit laws, laws of the psychology, laws of the mind. We as humans, the Homo sapiens, we live in societies, and we live in like very fucking weird societies where we are not generalists anymore. Our psychology is constructed by being kind of specific on some stuff. Let's say in the old times, medieval times, your father was a forger. What's the fucking name, Macedo? To some guy who makes swords. Or
blacksmith.
yeah, he was a blacksmith, and your family lived the blacksmith idea of life. You know, your grandfather was that, and he taught you that. You know, and life was kind of slow, but um, stuff was learned. Like these ideas, these laws, they were learned in kind of a way that it would not overload your capacity to, I don't know, conform to these rules, you know. Your family was a blacksmith forever, so you're kind of like, yeah, that's just how life is, you know. However, in these big ass cities we live in, this fast paced technology world, especially after the Industrial Revolution, where we had a very quite weird change, and this change is a lot of people are living very closely. A lot of people are living in kind of a global sense, like São Paulo, has, where I live. São Paulo in Brazil has to pay attention to China, has to pay attention to America, and what the fuck? I never seen a Chinese people like actually born there and have been talking to me like face to face. However, I
Mm,
still have to listen to them, you know?
yeah, that's true. I mean, if you go like 70 years back, you don't even need to go back to the Middle Ages. Middle Ages. You can go back to 70 years ago, and it was common to not know what was happening in a. It was common to not know what was happening outside of a 3 miles radius.
Yeah, or another city or even another state. I mean, listen to my grandma. Why does she care about Chile, you know? Like Argentina. She doesn't really care what happens there, you know? Doesn't really affect her close life.
Yeah, and the entire industrial revolution changed that. We are not living at the rural areas anymore. The cities were a place where you usually went to buy something or sell something or trade or do something important, meet someone that you needed to meet, that you usually wouldn't be able to meet. But now people are living in cities. That's the norm.
Yeah. At least the people who affect the world as a global thing, you know. Even if it's not the majority of the population, it still is. But even if it wasn't, their power to influence the other places in this planet is impressive. Way, way more. Even if you want to live in a forest, in a tribe, if you do not care about these people, they will come to your life and you will have to care or die.
Yeah, and the that's why we're talking about the structure of the system, because for thousands of years, the humanity was used to live uh, in a certain way. And
Yeah, way below a million people. Let's just put this in perspective.
yeah, just think about it. We never reached a billion people. And with the Industrial Revolution, it was 200 years ago. We
Yeah,
jumped from 1 billion to now almost 8 billion.
yeah. When I was a kid, we talked almost 7 billion. And I'm
Yeah,
22.
yeah. And now, less than 20 years in difference, we are reaching 8 billion already. And that's definitely not sustainable.
Yeah, let's talk a little more about psychology. Sadly, we have lost a very special episode with another guest, our good friend Dani Danison from Brazil. Hello, Dani Danison. I'm gonna say this in Portuguese. Salve, Dani Danison. É nóis, hein?
Salve.
Yeah, we lost this episode. He's a friend of mine from college, and we do psychology here in Brazil. And we talked a little about this, but well, that's gone. So I'll go with what we have now, okay? And I guess let's put stuff in perspective. We are humans, okay? Homo sapiens. We are animals of the Homo genus, whatever, and we are essentially monkeys, hairless monkeys. And monkeys, putting this not in like a 5,000 years perspective, not even like 10,000 years perspective. I'm talking about 200,000 years perspective, a million years perspective. That's the time that evolution took, biological evolution took to take place. So if something had to happen to monkeys to make, well, let's say monkeys live in groups of about 12 to 15 monkeys. They form these groups and they live in the forest. They have help each other and, well, at least they have to coexist. You know, even if they hate each other, they can only track about 15 monkeys they know. More than this, and they start to create groups. Like, let's say there is like a group of 30 and then 45 monkeys in a forest. They have to separate themselves and live in different areas of the forest. Otherwise, they will literally go to monkey wars. I'm not fucking joking this. Track, go on YouTube and search for this monkey wars.
It sounds like a name of a mobile game.
Yeah, there is actually a game, so it's not the game. I'm talking about the documentary.
Okay, go on.
And not Planet of the Apes, okay? It's Monkey Wars. But yeah, in any case, humans come from this kind of animal, and we as hairless monkeys, we actually like after we start separated from monkeys, from rheoses like chimpanzee, I'm saying, we left the chimpanzee family like 6 million years ago, and then we started the Homo. Then there was the Homo erectus, first one to walk, like all the time, like us. And then like a long ass time later, like way more, like 4 million years ago, they started to use rocks and stuff. And then like way after that, they started to make fire like 2 million years ago. So can you see the pace here?
Yeah, it took
The
a
pace
really
of
long ass
technology.
time to between those achievements, those discoveries of those uses of technology and new ways of mastering the environment around you. They took like literal hundreds of thousands of years.
Yes.
And now we
because
are,
they had to go with the DNA. You had to like live and pass on genes. There was no ideas. We did not speak yet. The monkeys, we are talking about social technology, I guess I could say, but more kind of like behavior, like classical behavior
yeah,
for biology, not social stuff for realsies. It's like social in the same way a bee is social, you know?
yeah, or a colony of ants.
Yeah, yeah. However, after the Homo genus, and especially after we started to make fire and like not accidentally make fire, like for reals is make fire all the time, you know. And
Yeah,
then she started because that's an of more of the way Krasinski was talking about technology. Like they are not learned in a way that's gene specific. It's more like a meme in the actual sense of the word. You know, like Dawkins described it. Richard Dawkins.
yeah. The information was being passed on through the generations, and
Yes,
that,
but not through sex, but through acts.
yeah, it was a the same information could be passed on through the same generation that didn't involve passing the biological genes. And even
Yeah.
that, no, please
Mhm.
go on.
Yeah, I guess that's the birth of technology, as Krasinski puts it, because we stopped to well, with the genes, we are slaves to our own bodies, and with that comes its own problems like mortality, happiness as we know it, and the influence of the environment in our psychological, biological minds, you know. Okay, however, that's life since the very beginning. We are defined by this, you know. That's how life was from the very first thing that was born. Death came to, and we were bound to it, and that's fuck it up. However, that's just how life is, you know. But after we started to use these technologies such as fire, tool manipulation, ambient manipulation, and by this I mean agriculture, these are separate from gene evolution, and as such, this stuff can influence our lives more than genes can. And by this I mean that if we learn to use fire, and fire made us the greatest hunter and the most smart animal because we cook stuff and eat stuff, we are now bound to this fire. We cannot ever live without it. Even the most primitive humans who live in this planet, they have to use fire or they will not go very far, you know?
Yeah, that's the point where we become, just like you said, we become bound to this technology, making an example to today's civilization. Every time that electricity goes down, people
Yeah.
lose their shit.
Oh, yeah. That's me. You just described me, bro.
People lose their shit every time electricity goes down because we are so much connected to it. We are so much dependent on it that it became a part of us. Not in a biological sense, but in a sense as a whole. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where Krasinski was going at. As I said before, he's an extremist, but he believes in human and in the human nature, I guess you could say. So
Yeah.
there is kind of a dualistic view of what a human is. We could return to monkey, as I guess we could put it, and say that okay, let's just stop doing this, let's destroy agriculture, and let's live as the body, the Homo sapiens was intended to live, a hunter that runs in the savannas by running. Oh, several billion people will die for this. However, human happiness overall will explode exponentially and forever so long as the earth can provide to these humans. And up to about 5 billion years when the sun will eventually consume the planet.
Oh yeah, that's this point too. I tend to forget about this,
Yeah.
well, we didn't stop. We didn't exactly stop the basic technology like mastering the fire and using agriculture and so on. We continue to develop new ways of doing stuff and creating new activities, you know. And
Yes,
that,
I, please go on. I want to listen more.
yeah, well, we didn't just stop there, and that's why he was so critical about the effects of the industrial revolution, because just like we were talking about, we the human body, the human species.
This hardware, may I say.
Yeah, that's exactly that. Thank you. The hardware was born millions of years ago, and it is continuing to develop to this day. Like we are not at peak form. You know, we usually think that we are at peak form, that we are creations of God or whatever.
And
But
even that our parents were dumber than we are today.
yeah, we are continuing to evolve. We are continuing to adapt, because that's basically what human beings are. We are creatures that have these three basic characteristics bound to them.
Correct.
We survive, we adapt, and we evolve. And we
Or
are
overcome,
continuing.
as Bear Grylls would say.
Yeah, and we overcome. And that's why we are doing to this day. We didn't stop evolving. Like, for example, our with the creation of smartphones, we are having changes to our thumbs and our other fingers, and our brains are still evolving as well. And
Correct.
that's a very slow process. You can see this changing through the generations, and that takes a lot of generations. But we are still changing, and then, and I mean, something that took literal million years to change from one thing to another. Uh, that's a entire different thing now, because we are evolving like way faster, way faster.
Yeah, I guess just finishing what Krasinski said, I will give my point now. I guess this is what's important, you know. I guess I will say this later just so I won't forget, but I think he was kind of short sighted, you know, on his point of the human happiness as a whole. Well, I'll go on this later, but what he means in the end of his manifesto is like this. Okay, so I said about the leftist people to talk about political correctness, to talk about the fact that psychology has to adapt to rules. And let's say that if a monkey could go and live with 15 monkeys they know and live in it's their family and friends, and we as humans could live in tribes for like up to 40 people, nomads, you know, people who walk around a lot in the savannas. I'm
Yeah,
talking about millions of years ago.
yeah.
And about like a million years ago, there were the Neanderthals, and they did not live in tribes yet. They were still quite the hunter gatherers, just like in the snow.
Yeah, there's that as well.
Yeah, but that, and then shit started to go crazy. Then 200,000 years ago, but maybe like 400,000 actually, the Homo sapiens appeared, and that's us. That's where we come in. And we were so efficient in our killing. Our methods were so impressive, not only on the running thing, like because that's just to kill animals. We wanted to maximize our resources and our hunters, and we wanted to pass on the ideas and technologies. I'm talking about 4,000 years, 400,000 years ago. people just like you and me. They may not have advanced words, but they can speak words like us. They have hands like us. They can craft stuff like us. Like even rudimentary technology, I can imagine Macedo would be able to make a fucking cool spear, with sticks.
Yeah, definitely not.
So yeah, there were people there. These people started to appear, and they were way more efficient in their hunting methods. That they first outsourced the Neanderthals, then they started to walk all over the planet, and where they went, some stayed, and then we started to populate the world, and then we started to reach the other human species. First, the Floresienses in Australia, and then the others like who were still living. I guess the Homo erectus was still around. We consumed their foods, and we stayed there, and then we went to the Americas, and then about like 100,000 years ago, something weird happened with our DNAs, and then we like got like to Homo sapiens sapiens.
Yeah, Sapiens Sapiens.
And that's fuck it up. I guess that's like we went Super Saiyan, and then we started to stick around to places, and then we invented agriculture, and then we stopped living as nomads. Then society and civilization arose from the humans just fucking sticking around and consuming stuff and living according to cultural rules and not so much as biological rules anymore.
Yeah, you had
That's
this,
the system.
and that you had the creation of the system because just like Cici explained it here, naturally we are not sedentary beings. We are nomads. But now we have this entire new system where you will have groups of people actively living with the technologies that were created, but they are not just living with the previous created technologies. We are creating niggle forms of technologies that are meant to maximize the efficiency of resource utilization.
We are really fucking hacking the planet, you know?
We are just basically fucking hacking the planet for our.
Yeah, God just created some beautiful The Sims game here with little dinosaurs and little sheep and whatever, and then we just enter the server and fuck it shit up in about 10 minutes of gameplay.
And that's kind of fucked up if you think about it.
And that's pretty much what actually happening. I'm not really exaggerating here. As I said before, it's a time of 400,000 years. The universe has like 13.4 billion years.
Yeah, and all of these fucked up things are happening in a very uh short time span, you know. And I mean, please go on. I don't want to interrupt
Yes,
you.
I will. This is the finishing of the story. So if you listen to this to the very end, Krasinski now has everything he needs to construct his argument. This is where you listen to him and you'll say, motherfucker. Ah! So yeah, now he has everything. He said this. Well, first we were humans, the Homo sapiens, and we are running hardware that first appeared 400,000 years ago, and we are basically like hunters who like to run. So that's why we have this body. The human body is specialized in persistence running. So this is why our legs are so strong and our butts are so round.
Yeah, and we have our sweating. We sweat.
And we
Uh,
also are the best throwers in the whole nature. We throw shit very good.
yeah, we are the best throwers in nature, and just because we sweat, we are able to maintain the temperature of our bodies, so we can keep running for a longer time. So that's why we were able to hunt because
Yes, these
the
are
other
these are
animals,
our perks as animals.
yeah, the other animals they weren't able to run for as long as we were. So they got tired, we reached them and killed them and
Yeah.
ate it.
And then that's like we as animals, that's our origin. This is what makes us happy, in the sense that my cat enjoys killing birds and fighting with other cats at night. That's what makes him happy, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what makes us happy, and that's the origin. So we live in about 45 uh, groups of 45 people, like old people, some old people, lots of people who are like pretty much athletes, athletics. I don't know, people who work out, you know,
Yeah, athletes.
Olympic guys.
Yeah, peak human state.
But that's normal humans. And then we started to walk around the world. And then once we settled down, we started to make tribes. And we as humans could make tribes and track people we know up to about like 150 people. Like you know about 50 people, like I guess 30 are like your family and friends. 50 persons you have 50, yeah, 50 people you have to see every day, and like 150 people you kind of know who they are. That's what our brains can track once we settle down and live. And by I'm saying this number in specific because you can see this story later, but check Facebook maybe. Well, before they start to fuck up the numbers, people usually had about 150 people as friends, you know. And in other I don't know, social media, the number is kind of the same too.
Yeah. And if you think about it, that's exactly it. If even those people who have 5,000 Facebook friends,
They
I
don't know them. They don't know these people.
yeah, they don't even talk to 10 of them, let alone 500 or
It's just a
5,000.
math. It's mathematics, you know. Just think about it. If you have to interact with each person for a minute, there aren't enough minutes in the month.
Yeah, if I saw this too, I don't know where, but if you met a new person uh, every day, I guess that's exactly it. If you were to talk to these 5,000 people or met them in real life, you wouldn't have time to do other stuff. Like you would have to only socialize. If
Yeah, you have to eat, you have to shit, you know, and you can't socialize like that.
our bodies, let alone our minds, are not made for this.
And just as a quick point, if you guys want to listen more about this, search Rats Utopia down the rabbit hole. I'll leave the link in the description too.
So, just like you were saying,
Yeah, and as I said before, this is just a progression, you know? First, we were slow, millions of years in pace, and then hundreds of thousands, and then dozens of thousands. And then we started to actually, first came the tribes, about 150 people. And then came the tribe wars. And then people started to make even crazier technologies, such as agriculture, and with agriculture we stopped being like Amazonian people, like Indians, indigenous people, whatever. And then came the rise of the cities, and then we could not possibly keep track of the people anymore. And from 150 people living in a tribe, we skipped it to like thousands of people living in a city. And then bureaucratic systems had to come, such as kings, religion, money. And then shit started to get really weird, but it was still kind of manageable because, as I said before, blacksmith people are still within the range of the human scope to adapt to their lives.
yeah,
Then that's where Krasinski says, but then everything changed because of the Industrial Revolution. Because people usually like to talk about capitalism being something like the ultimate doom of humanity. However, capitalism, much like empires, existed before the 1800s, such as in Rome and China and whatever. However, capitalism was only able to become so strong because of this new way to utilize resources. We were already hacking the planet as humans, but now instead of making technologies that take like hundreds of years to evolve, now we are able to make technology that just keeps getting exponentially faster. And that's where shit's going to explode. And then from hundreds of thousands, we skip it to millions, to billions, and who knows, maybe trillions other planets?
Just as Jesus, that's fucking insane. Can our brains can't even fathom this number?
Now you will now understand this number. Krasinski made a manifesto because he has an ultimatum. People who make manifestos usually put ultimatums because they are revolutionaries. And Krasinski point is, remember, he was in the 1995, 1980s, and he said the following: with the exponential evolution of this kind of system, we have about 40 to 100 years until the system will reach a point where it can face terrible, terrible problems that it will have to evolve. However, the system is now so much in control of the human life that human lives are very expendable to the system. So long as the system can continue, and by this he probably means like machine revolution or whatever,
Yeah.
and even if biological life is unsustainable, but technology can go on, we will probably reach that point within the next century.
Yeah, and just like I've said, we are already 30 years in the future from where he wrote this manifesto. So if he was right, then the shit is going to hit the fan within the next 10 years to the next 60 or 70.
He must have seen it all, man, because when he said that, there was TV. But immediately after, then came the internet, and then came the smartphones. And now we are talking about 3D printers, spaceships to another planets, VR.
Yeah, none of these things were common knowledge back in the 90s. I mean, there were the scientists and enthusiasts, the fucking nerds, but it was not common knowledge. And now this is mainstream. All of these stuff are part of our day-to-day lives. And this is just going to become even more complex, you know?
Yeah, and I guess what makes me furious is because it's so hard to argue against this. He is quite correct in his predictions, and it's hard to argue with this one specific point. Even though, I mean, every technology, specific, once it advances, is generally way better for humanity. Fire was awesome.
Yeah.
Vaccines are great now with COVID, you know? Smartphones are pretty cool. However, these technologies as a collective, they are detrimental to us as humans, to our happiness, our freedom, as it puts it, because that makes us slaves to this system. And even if one car is good, like many cars in a society makes us slaves to the cars.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess that we are already slaves to the system, you know? And making a comment about the exponential development of technology. We are now at 2021, and then there is this pretty famous speculation theory about the technological singularity that is bound to happen by 2045. That's like 90, no, not 19. Some 24 years into the future. And that's kind of makes up with the predictions that he made.
Yeah, it really does. The world is very different from Krasinski's manifestos. Manifestos.
Yeah. That you can't say that he was completely nuts, that he was just insane, just a terrorist, just a crazy dude. He was he was talking about stuff that actually makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
even if he killed people, even if he was an extremist, he was talking about things that actually make sense and that are actually happening. We can see this now. We are living it. We are living in a society that's suffering with these problems. You can see the examples of Amazon that
Yeah, true.
that treat, that treats its employees with they treat their employees like basically slaves. We are seeing the environment going to shit, and
Depression is in a sky rise, you know.
yeah, depression is an at all-time high. We are seeing a political and economical crisis all over the place in
But
different countries.
however, there are way more people living in this planet than ever before. There are way more healthy people living here than ever before. Every single individual person is basically a god with a cell phone, you know. This is so hard to join these two ideas, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's an estimate that since the first human, I don't know if I don't know if this estimate considers the first Homo sapiens or the first Homo sapiens or the first Homo erectus. I don't know.
Hmm.
But the estimate is that there were 100 billion people that were born till today.
Hmm.
100 billion. We have now almost 8 billion. And right before the first industrial revolution, lots of people were fucking poor, like by today's standards poor. They
Hmm.
didn't have the means to do shit. They were starving. They were working their asses off, uh, 20 years. I mean, 20 hours per day. And today, okay, you have with the advance of our, I mean, with our collective advancements, we are now in a better state. But that's why the Unabomber was talking about that people were going to become slaves to the system in a sense that we are going to become so dependent on the system that we are going to become expendable.
We are simply cogs in a huge social machine. We are expendable meat carcasses, bodies that the system uses to advance its goals. And once we are advanced enough, we may soon become just cells in a huge body, just cogs in a giant internet of things.
Were you reading this? Holy shit!
No, I'm just fucking high.
That was kind of poetic.
Well, yeah, but I think about this a lot. You know, I have read about Krasinski's ideas like 2 weeks ago, and he goes against everything I love, everything I said about technology, everything I show people. I feel so used, you know. Even talking about this in this podcast still kind of feels the technology point of view.
Yeah, but I mean that's exactly why his ideas were so controversial because uh, our generation, at least, we were born with this system, uh, and the 2 to 3 generations before as well, and at least, well, even some more. But what do I mean is that we are we are used to this. We are used to see technology.
I have known no life before this. I do not know anything better.
Yeah, I will use a basic example. Um, when I start when I started playing video games, I started with a Game Boy Color, a fucking Game Boy Color.
I was
That
thinking about the same thing, you know, bro.
Yeah, do you know that? Man, dude, just fucking get this. We were used to play a fucking Pokemon Red version in a Game Boy Color. That was a dude. Do you remember? How
2D sprites, and it wasn't in black and white. It wasn't black and green.
yeah, it was not that. It was fucking black and green, dude. And that shit
We
was
were too poor to buy white. We had to buy green.
and dude, in the and within the next 10 years, I guess Pokemon Red was released in 1996. Yeah, 96. And then you go 10 years later in 2006. Yeah,
Mhm.
you already have Pokemon Platinum. That's dude, the
Full
difference.
color, bro. Full color. To
Yeah,
you guys are all like, oh, full color. The word is in full color. That's nothing. Bros, in my time, colors weren't so available, you know?
yeah, dude. Not only in colors, but in 3D,
Yeah,
dude.
then that's what I was going to say. Like less than 10 years later, the next skip from Platinum was to like X and Y, and that was like actual 3D. That was insane, bro.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I mean, we are used to this. We are used to seeing technology developing. When back in the day when we were playing PS1 games, we played that shit and we were all like, "Dude, this looks so realistic." But now, kids are playing GTA 5 and they are like, "Well, this is something."
Expecting that GTA 6 will be like full dive VR.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say. We are our generations uh, are used to live in this environment, the system. You know, I
And that's
okay, okay.
something Krasinski would finish it. Please go on. I'll say later.
No, 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 no. Go on. I was not going to go so much further.
Yeah, but I think something Krasinski would say is the way he finishes the manifesto, talking again about leftism, like he wants to leave a sour taste in your mouth, you know.
Yeah,
But he goes on by saying, you know what you just described, that we feel the pace of technology advanced and a certain uncertainty in the future. There is this vibe, this collective vibe, you know. That's something our great grandfathers did not experience. People who came just hundreds of years before us, could expect to live the same life as their parents, and the same life, their children will live the same life, like pretty much indefinitely. That
yeah,
was easier to bear in your mind, you know.
that's true. I didn't exactly think about that. Yeah, that's true. And nowadays, we can actually uh, see what's going to happen within the next 20 years, let alone the next generation. You can
Yes.
live right now if we have kids now. They are definitely not going to live the same lives as we did.
Oh, definitely. My child is going to be a soldier. He's going to live in the hashtag climate wars.
In the monkey wars.
Monkey wars. Let's return to monkey, my son. Hey, bro. Let me say one thing. We are at the 1 minute mark. Do you mind giving me a brief pause and then we stick this and finish this up?
Yeah, I need to take a pause as well.
Yeah,
So,
I just
guys,
drank 2 liters of water and now I have to think about Krasinski.
sure, we are going to be back in within a few minutes.
Yeah, to you guys, it's going to be instantaneous. So, it's going to come back soon. Aí, Macedo, eu vou cortar, tá? Mas fica mutado, tá bom?
Demorou. Vou demorar uns minutos, mano. Pera aí, rapidão.
Tá bom, tá bom, tá bom. Vai, 3, 2, 1. And we are back, guys. I feel very relieved now. I feel amazing. The world is way more bright and beautiful. Maybe humans can now live in harmony with technology.
You are a new man, but you are still a. How can I say this? You were a sweet summer child.
Ah, yes, I'm just a baby. A baby boomer.
You baby boomer. Anyways, so where were we?
Well, I guess as I was saying, I just finished my what I wanted to say. That's kind of a bit of what the Unabomber said, and I say this before, guys. Go listen to the manifesto, the complete thing. It's you will be very hard pressed to say that he's a crazy guy. He's not so crazy, and
Yeah,
it's also a little bit of our own view.
yeah, we have some mixed views about this guy because we kind of agree with what he's talking about. We just don't agree that he exploded some guys' heads, but
Yeah, he went too far, but he was not so wrong because, well, he did in fact get the attention he wanted, and we are talking about him now. But maybe people will talk more about him if he did not do this, and that could be a shot in his own foot because now it may be too late to pay attention to him.
yeah, but I mean, you cannot say that he was not intelligent. He was highly intelligent. He knew what he was talking about. Just like we said, uh, you can see these things happening right now today. So I also recommend you guys to go listen to the entire manifesto, or you can also read. It is available in the website of the Washington Post, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, I will not link it because I don't feel like it, but
Yeah,
you
but
guys can easily find it.
yeah, but it's a PDF file. You can, or a web or a web page. It's within the first three links on the first page of Google. You
Yeah,
just
and we are not talking about the Netflix series. That's about his crimes. We are talking about the ideas.
yeah, it's very easy to find, and we highly recommend it because we just what we talked about in here today. It was just a brief discussion about the ideas, but if you go deep further into the entire article, you will find some insights for yourself. You will go into well, you are going to think about it yourself.
Go down the rabbit hole, my friends. You will love it.
And next week we are going to go back with the same subject. We are going to talk about a book called what was the name? It was the
The fall of empires and the fight for survival.
yeah, that's kind of related about like it's kind of related to what we talked about today and related to the ideals of the Unabomber. And not only that, we have another things to talk about. Uh, for example, our personal views about this.
Yeah, and also we may end up talking about the Fermi paradox. In the end, Krasinski may have been kind of short-sighted because he was looking at a small scope of life and happiness, but ultimately this is talking about belief systems and what are we even trying to accomplish here as like life as living beings in this planet. Is this really bad? Why did he say this was bad? you know this kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
but just like you saw in the previous episodes of Breeze Talks, our worldviews are not exactly that. We are a bit different. We are a
Yeah.
bit different, and the second episode of these ideas are going to be more suited for us, and we are going to I don't know trip. We're not. Yeah, we are going to
Yeah,
be
I'm going to trip balls. You guys can be sure of this.
Yeah, me too. And we are going to discuss way more. Today we were presenting the ideas, but now we are going balls deep into the tripping.
Now let's go to the final consequences, you know? This was just saying, hey, did you guys even notice what's going on? And now that we notice it, we can kind of perhaps maybe take a look at where we are going. Are we able to steer to another way? Perhaps?
Perhaps. And just with that, that is going to be the 10th episode of the Breeze Talks. Uh, I assume this is going to be the end of the first season of these podcasts.
Yes, and season 2 will come soon. It's still this year. Please don't worry. We are
Yeah, don't worry about that. We are working on this. We are creating some content for you guys and working on something that it is going to be crazy. We want it to be crazy.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And thank you guys for sticking around, my little breezes,
My little breezes.
my breezers.
Sounds so fucking ugly. It sounds like a
No,
My Little Pony
don't
or
use
some
this
shit.
name. Let's not use. Let's make a better name, okay? Not this one.
Uh, I'm going to change the name of the channel now.
But thank you guys for sticking around. As always, remember to like, to share, to subscribe. We are on Spotify. Also, come to the Discord if you want to say to reply some about something we said. This is the moment. Go to the Discord on the description, and in the next episode, we are gonna come back to this topic. And if you leave a message, we will for sure reply.
Yeah, for sure. We want to know about what you guys are thinking about. All right. Thanks again for the attention. We're going to come back next week or this week, I guess. And it is.
Yeah,
Oh no, we are going to record this week, but
yeah.
maybe it is going to be posted next week.
Time is a little weird here in the future, but you guys know
Yeah.
it.
So, anyways, thank you again and see ya.
And bye bye.